Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. First, let me say I'm very happy to hear the verdict in the Erin Andrews lawsuit. She won $55 million. I applaud her for bringing the suit. I congratulate the jury, in my opinion, for getting it right. I wish Erin Andrews a lot of success in her career. I thought that was an important lawsuit. Let me shift gears quickly. Let's talk about Sharapova getting busted for PED use. Let me just say this. She was on the drug for 10 years, right? 10 years. I don't believe you just stumble into this drug. But let me say this, right? And I think it's important and needs to be said. I believe we're kidding ourselves if we feel that steroid use or PED use is a rare occurrence at the highest levels, right? I believe that many people are pushing it. I believe that PED use is much more widespread in sports than we think. I think the only difference between someone who gets busted and someone who doesn't in many situations is simply whether or not the testing agencies are aware of the latest drugs, right? Sharapova's drug just got put on the banned list. Think about it. Just got put on the banned list, but yet she was using it for 10 years, and now we're finding out that this drug improves blood flow and a lot of things, stamina, that would help a tennis player. Okay, let me shift gears further, right? You know, they say one of the secrets to life, one of the keys to success, is to surround yourself with people who are better informed and smarter than you are. Well, here online, I've done just that. Let me offer an apology with regard to my Ruslan Chagayev, Lucas Brown video. The boxing turned out the way we wanted. Gamblers were taken care of. But I should have done better. I said that the fight was in the Ukraine. I was wrong. That fight was in Russia, right? It was in Grozny. I apologize, right? The readers have called me out on it. They've left great comments in the comment section to the video. I've learned a lot from those comments. You are right. I was wrong on where the fight was held, right? I apologize for my error. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk about an upcoming fight between possibly the crown jewel of the Al Haymon empire. He, in my opinion, is one of the most talented fighters in the sport of boxing, Errol Spence. And he's taking on Chris Algieri. Now, let me just describe Errol Spence, right? He's a southpaw. He's crafty. He's a gifted puncher. This guy isn't just a stylist. He's actually a puncher. A lot of early knockouts, a greater than 80% KO ratio, and he's explosive. He doesn't come in throwing a lot of punches. Rather, what he does is he comes in, picks his spots. He's a sharpshooter. He's very quick. He can close the gap in the blink of an eye. You'll notice that he's able to hit guys flush, right? There's no tell on what he's doing. He's able to get off power shots. He's able to shorten the punches. He's very high accuracy. He has some fights where he's landed over 50% of his punches, right? As you look at the style, as you look at him frame everything, understand this guy is an excellent, and I mean excellent. I mean, let's say one of the top 10 in the sport. He's an excellent body puncher, right? There's a crispness to his game. He's unbeaten. And he's taking on Chris Algieri, but let me say this. This is one of those fights where I'm going to break with the public, right? I know many people are going to look at Algieri's record. They're going to look at the judges' scorecards. from his fight against Amir Khan, who in my opinion is a tough guy to fight. Right? Blinding hand speed, combination puncher. Right? Offensively blessed, knows how to use length. Well, in my opinion, Chris Algieri won that fight. I know the scorecards disagree with me. Okay, whatever. Right? I know many of you are going to disagree with me. Okay, fine. Right? Chris Algieri won the fight. It was his first fight with John David Jackson. This is going to be his third fight with John David Jackson. Let me be as clear as I can be here. Right? I know the public sentiment is someplace else. Okay, great. I know people will remember a fighter's worst moments in the ring, and they'll remember his loss to Manny Pacquiao. All right, so it goes. I'm just telling you that in the entire sport of boxing, as I just randomly look at fights and stuff like that, Chris Algieri is a guy who looks better than I'd say most of the fighters I see. He's one of the very best fighters that I see on film. Right? His last fight against Eric Benet, if he could be faulted for something in that Amir Khan fight, it's that he was too front foot heavy in that Amir Khan fight, right? He's coming forward all the time and stuff like that. You thought, man, if this guy could just remember that originally he was a back foot fighter, right? Look at the Ruslan Chagayev tape, right? Well, then you get the Eric Benet fight. Grueling fight. I'm just telling you that if you look at that fight and you notice that Algieri is learning how to mix his front foot game with the back foot game, that he's learning how to hide his body and bend at the waist. Let me say this too. The guy fought Ruslan Provatnikov at 140. Right? At 147, he's 5'10". Right? To me, he's too big for 140. Right? At 147, this guy looks nourished. He looks like he has a much harder punch. He looks like he has much more stamina. Right? And this guy, to me, is at a point in his career. He's 32. Right? He's had disappointment. That Manny Pacquiao fight. He shifted from the training group he has to John David Jackson. He's revamped his game. I'm just telling you that if you look up the words hungry fighter in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of this guy. Right? Now, I believe that Chris Algieri is a live underdog in this fight. I know the odds are going to be long and stuff like that. Hey, sounds good to me. You know what? The casino's going to give me longer odds on the fighter I want. Right? Errol Spence doesn't have a lot of experience going deep in fights. He doesn't. That's what a greater than 80% KO ratio does. Right? Many of Errol Spence's fights are he shows up, by the fourth round, the other guy's either on the canvas or he's gasping for air and the ref has seen enough. What happens if Errol Spence, and I'll agree Errol Spence is tremendously talented. I'll agree Errol Spence has great hand speed. Well, what happens if Errol Spence is in the ring with a guy who also has great hand speed, who has the kind of hunger that a fighter who's been knocked off a pedestal and written off, but who has the talent has? Right? Chris Algieri went the distance with Amir Khan. Right? Now, I know YouTube Nation disagrees with me. Won't be the first time. I'm not sure if Saul Alvarez will be able to go the distance with Amir Khan. Yes, I'm aware of the size gap and stuff like that. Yes, I'm aware that weight classes matter, right? Conor McGregor knows that from MMA. Okay, great. But I'm just telling you, going the distance with Amir Khan, that's no mean feat, right? Chris Algieri, this version of Chris Algieri, would do a hell of a lot better against Manny Pacquiao than the version who fought Manny Pacquiao. Right? When you see a talented fighter and he's been knocked off the pedestal and he's been written off, he goes out there and beats Amir Khan. Then here's the scorecards and realizes that many of the judges were viewing it as Amir Khan, a star against an opponent. When he has a superstar trainer and he's incorporating things in his game, and quite frankly, he's been in more wars than Errol Spence. He's fought a higher level of opposition than Errol Spence. He has more stamina than Errol Spence, at least more proven stamina. The fight's in Barclays, his backyard. I know some are going to say, hey, wasn't that Amir Khan fight in Barclays? Right? This is a little bit different. Right? I believe the setup here is a little bit different. Right? Algieri was coming off a car crash against Manny Pacquiao. Right? People thought that he was just a guy who was on a hot streak who wasn't an elite fighter, who then went up against an elite fighter and got exposed. Right? I'm just telling you, the guy who beat Eric Bonet is an elite fighter. Right? I know that's not the way the press is reporting it and stuff like that. Look, man, just go look at the film. Right? Algieri can bend. Algieri is fluid. Algieri can move. He has foot speed. He can fight outside. He can jump in. He can fight inside. One of the problems with a sharpshooter like Errol Spence, same problem with Floyd Mayweather when he was in his prime, is that sharpshooters often will be waiting for a clean pocket. Right? They're not great at a muddy pocket. Right? They want to hit you. They want that punch percentage to be around 50%. Right? So someone like an Algieri who's coming in and moving, creating uncertainty. He's outside, he's inside. He can handle himself inside. He's throwing hand speed inside. He can shorten his punches. He can back up, has an excellent jab. Hard to find in the ring. Suddenly the pocket becomes an elastic pocket. That guy could cause problems for a sharpshooter. Right? A sharpshooter wants to take out the gun on a sunny day. Right? When it starts raining, when it gets windy, that can throw off a sharpshooter. Right? So, I'll just say this. Put another way, Errol Spence is really a fastball hitter. Right? Chris Algieri is going to be out there throwing knuckleballs. Right? I think Algieri is a live dog in this one. I'll tell you, if it goes the distance, I get the feeling it's Algieri who's going to close strong. The bet I'm recommending here, and I know it's off-road, I know the public's on the highway and I'm here in the weeds. Good. I'm betting my money. Right? You have to make the decision for yourself. Remember, I'm a complete stranger online here. The bet I'm recommending against a fighter who I do view as one of the most talented guys in boxing is to take Chris Algieri to win the fight. I think underdogs are mispriced in boxing. I think this is a great fight for the underdog. Is to take Chris Algieri to win the fight. And a hedge to play with Errol Spence by KO. Right? Chris Algieri did hit the canvas several times against Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence is a guy with a big punch. Right? A greater than 80% KO ratio, a lot of first-round knockouts. Right? Maybe Errol Spence lands. Right? All I'm saying here is if Errol Spence doesn't land, I'm expecting the former Gold Gloves titleist, the former Olympian, to be outboxed, right? Algieri is at the point in his career, right, where he is going for it all, right? I'll tell you, the most dangerous man in the room is the guy who has tasted failure, who's making a comeback, and who has focus, and who has skills. I'm also telling you that I look at a lot of films and stuff like that. Now, look at some guys and stuff like that. We all have our list of fighters we feel who are underrated, right? I looked at that Amir Khan fight like this. Algieri looked so much better than I envisioned. Then I looked at the Eric Benet fight, and I was even more impressed, right? So I've had Chris Algieri on my list of underrated fighters. Fighters where whatever the odds he's getting, right, he has a better chance of that than winning the fight, right, of winning the fight. And now he's taking on a guy who just doesn't have a lot of experience. I know Spencer's gone 10 rounds in a fight, but he doesn't have a lot of experience going deep in fights. And here he's fighting a guy with tremendous stamina. It's even better than that, right? Fight fans are looking at Algieri films, and they're looking at Algieri with a different trainer in a different weight class. Guess what? He's in a heavier weight class now. He's stronger, he has more stamina, and he has a trainer who has him doing a lot of things in the pocket, right? So, I like the underdog here. I like Chris Algieri. I am going to hedge the play with Errol Spence by KO, right? But understand the risk involved. If the favorite here, Errol Spence, wins by decision, and I mean the big favorite, right? If Errol Spence wins by decision, you lose it all. That's the risk I'm willing to take. That's how I see the fight. If you disagree with me, I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. I'm not going to dare try to tell you where this fight is taking place. Right? Actually, I already have, I guess. Barclays Center in Brooklyn. But let me just say, I appreciate the comments left to these videos. Whether you agree with me or whether you don't, I'll agree. Many times the comments are where the action is in these videos. Many times it's the commentators here who are right and I'm wrong. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.